Dead on movie reviews.
Salutations and mutilations. You're listening to Otherworldly Culture presents Dead On Movie Reviews. Tonight, we will present horror movie reviews and lively debate here on otherworldlyculture.com and on future select Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can join our live chat at that time by clicking on the live shows link on the otherworldlyculture.com website. I'm your host, Tim Kretschmann. I'm coming to you from the land of lakes and landfills, beautiful and smelly Muskego, Wisconsin. It's my honor to introduce the Faculty of Fear panel presenting tonight's lectures. We start with Adam Holtzapfel. He's back from the Diz. He's taking a whiz on a new movie tonight. As usual, he exhaustively searched every nook, every cranny, every dark corner of the internet by clicking on a single button marked Shutter. He is the Taco King. Here's Adam.
Hey, Tom, how's it going?
I'm doing great. It's been a while since we've been doing these shows, and it's great to hear from you again.
Thanks, yeah, it's been a minute.
It has been a minute. Next, The Meat is on the way. Ladies and gentlemen, America's little sweetheart, the killer clown of getting down, the speedy freak that loves to speak and streak. He is smoking a stogie and eating a hoagie, stalking the small in the wild, and pulling down the burlesque with a quest. He is the only, the lonely, Rich Del Zotto.
Hello!
And last and least, little Mikey Exler is back again today as the denizen of the dismal, the purveyor of the putrid. That exciting exclaimer of glorious gloom wrestling up from his stony tomb. He's the monster, the mad ghoul, the glad, and that sack of mumbling, moaning pus that barfs out baloney. He's one, and there are many, but he's our very own panel-purveying provocateur, Coach Michael Exler.
Thanks, Tim. I wanted to ask, why does your town smell?
Why did and this is actually not my side of town, but my brother lives on the other side of Muskego, and that is where he is about a mile down the street from the largest landfill in southeastern Wisconsin. It's absolutely huge, and if the wind blows a certain way, you go indoors. But at night, they have a thing where they burn the methane gas off, and sometimes it looks like you got a candle out there in the middle of the field.
Creates nice ambiance.
It is. You know what it is? Romantic. That's the right term for it. It's just romantic. People like to go on out and watch the submarine races by the landfill. All right. Well, let's get things going. We have a bunch of movies tonight, and we're going to start with, I believe this is the newest of the bunch, and that means we're going to be going to Adam. Adam, what have you been watching?
I've been watching Destroy All Neighbors. Shudder original came out January 12th, so just a couple weeks old. Stars Jonah Ray, which most people know from the Mystery Science Theater reboot. Alex Winter, which, throw a dart, you can hit a movie he's been in, most notably Lost Boys, Bill and Ted.
Mm-hmm.
Features appearances by Randy Howler, which Daniel LaRusso's mom from Karate Kid. Thomas Lennon, which he is in Reno 911 and the Puppet Master Littlest Reich, I believe, that came out a few years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. What did you say, Mike?
I just said that movie was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was. It is a good one, but we'll save that for another episode. Um, this clocks in at like an 85 minutes, so right there, the hour 25-minute mark. Um, Good blend of comedy and horror. It basically follows Jonah Ray's character, William, who lives in this Skid Row type apartment, has a new neighbor named Vlad move in, and William being a little bit of a pussy, afraid of confrontation. So, you've got like Vlad blaring techno all night, which is Alex Winter and these ridiculous prosthetics that make him almost unrecognizable. So
Well,
that works.
not almost. We keep showing the pictures. Are I had no idea that was Alex Winter until I started going through the cast list.
Yeah.
And is he like a troll or a little person or what's going on there?
No, just he's Russian, Ukrainian, that kind of area. So
I have often mistook Russians for being trolls, so this is not unusual.
Someone got that. It was like, how did you get that? No, oh, it's not a midget troll. Okay.
What the hell? He looks. Take a look at these pictures as they're shuffling through. He looks like some sort of troll or something. It's really amazing.
yeah, the prosthetics are real amazing that they did for him, and it's all practical effects. Williams, this prog rock obsessed guy that just that's his hyper focus. He wants to make like the best prog rock album ever until an accidental death occurs. And then from there shit just flies off the rails. So yeah. It's a not bad flick for being a newer movie. Glad to see they used practical effects.
And this was a direct to Shutter, right? This is all
Yeah,
on Shutter.
yeah, it's a Shutter original. Like, I know sometimes they have DVDs in Walmart for them around the time they come out,
Mm-hmm.
but I think this one's straight Shutter right now.
Okay. Now, was there a video game that this was based on or something? I thought I'd read something like that.
No, not that I'm aware of. There's not. I know,
Okay.
yeah, it kind of has that look. I think there's one like My Neighbor's a Zombie or something like that.
Okay.
Also,
Yeah,
one called Destroy All Humans.
Oh,
yeah,
maybe that's what happened.
yeah.
I'm proud that this week I think I got only live action stills that came through because last week I mistook some video game clips and put it up for Mike's movie. So I'm very proud of myself not cocking this all up. All right. So is that Adam? Is that it? Do you want to grade it?
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't want to spoil too much since it's pretty fresh
Yeah,
still.
it's brand new. It's brand new. I gotta tell you, I have no idea where you're gonna grade this. I got my finger hovering. We'll see how I do.
I'd give it a solid B. Like, it's not perfect, but I don't know what they could really improve on. It's just a fun flick, and that's what I expected from it. I went in with no expectations, no hype.
Well, that's good. Honestly, if a direct to streaming gets anything other than a D or an F, I'm always surprised. But that's me. I'm just not a fan of a lot of direct to streaming stuff. All right. Well, then let's get to our next lecture. We're going to be going back to Pittsburgh, and we're going to have Rich. Rich, What have you been watching?
I've been watching 1995's Castle Freak.
Freak.
Did you want?
Fantastic. Yeah, I got it up there now.
Oh, did you hear me?
Yes, we heard you.
All right. So, because I didn't want to put much effort into doing anything to help out this episode,
We know.
I decided to Google to see if somebody had a good one-liner to describe this film, and I found the perfect one, and this is a film about a deformed cannibal sex pest who lives in the castle dungeon.
Did AI write that, or what? How did you
No,
write
I
that?
found it somewhere. I wish I would have saved it because whoever wrote that deserves full credit for.
That is accurate.
Yes.
It's accurate. I don't know how else to put it. That's accurate.
But so, obviously an older film. We know the reasons I chose it for this month, or for this episode. The excuse me, the
Well, hold on, Rich. Not everybody knows. You do have to explain that a little bit for some folks that tune. We actually do have people that tune in not live and don't have the opportunity to chat a question. So I'm going to ask, why did you pick Castle Freak, Rich?
I chose Castle Freak because this March 1st through the 3rd, 2024, in Pittsburgh at the Horror Realm Convention, we are fortunate enough to have both Charles Band and Barbara Crampton as guests, and I thought it would be fun to review a film that they're both involved in.
What a fantastic cross promotion, Rich.
I'm nothing.
Because it was the deformed penis movie.
We'll get to the deformed penis part. I'm saving that for later.
Okay.
I mean, like 30 seconds from now.
Yeah,
so I'm already-
don't pour all the spice out of the container right at the beginning.
So, but no, it's a cool film. I mean, a typical Charles Band movie. The budget is not very big, but one thing I always give him credit for is I feel like he gets every bit out of every penny he has for these films, and I appreciate that. Stuart Gordon is the director, and the two main actors are Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton, which we all know from Reanimator, the three of them.
Though? I mean, I love Barbara Crampton. She's great in it, but I think the blind daughter has a bigger part than Barbara. I was actually I have never watched this before. You said you were going to do it, and I thought, oh God, this is one of those glaring holes in my viewology. And I was kind of surprised how little Barbara was in it.
I guess you could say the daughter was featured more, but based on the 80s video era, I guess this was 1995, 90s video era. Yeah. I mean, Jeffrey and Barbara were still the stars. I mean, that's what people would have seen on the shelf and why they would have picked it up. That and the Charles Band brand on it.
Right.
But for screen time, the daughter, definitely, you could argue she's the star. I think also considering that she was 17 at the time that it was released and possibly younger when they were filming it, I feel like they really pushed the limits on what they showed and how they treated her body in that film. It was almost illegal in my opinion, and I probably 16-year-old me would have liked it. 51-year-old me is appalled. So, but anyway, back to the movie and try to get this over with so we can hear from somebody good like Mike. It starts out pretty quick, actually, to the point, and I rewatched this because it had been years since I had seen it. And at first, I was really liking how quickly the story comes together. We're introduced to the freak in the dungeon in the first scene. His mother passes, and we cut pretty quick to Jeffrey Combs and his family, which is estranged wife Barbara Crampton and blind daughter, driving to the castle because he is the sole heir to this castle. So they get there, pretty cool entrance into it. You see a lot of dark art and things of that nature on the wall. So you're kind of like, okay, this is gonna go the direction I like. that artwork, for as much as they featured it, really never comes into play. Like there was anything dark.
Yes.
You know, I thought there was going to be more than just the cannibal sex pest in the dungeon, but that's all we got was a cannibal sex pest.
Yeah.
That's what I keep laughing about. The sex pest.
I'm gonna get you drunk in horror rum and get that tattooed on your tramp area.
Those pesky.
Anyway, so but the story moves along quickly. I mean, the relationships, why they're estranged, you know, but even though they're estranged, you can, or not only because they're estranged, but I mean, you can see good tension actually between the two of them, and I think part of that is the two of them acted enough together. They're really good at pulling off whatever they need to for a scene. But you can see also the love of the daughter. It's, you know, typical.
Well, I think too, we've all watched a lot of full moon movies. These are two actors that are well above the usual that we see in such low budget films.
Yes.
They're a lot better than you're used to.
So we get through almost the first half of the movie, and as I mentioned, I kind of liked the pacing. Like, we're getting some answers quick and stuff, but then I realized, I looked at the time, I'm like, oh crap, we're only halfway through this movie, and we pretty much know everything. So I guess the rest of the movie is going to be, they got to get to this sex pest and have him start terrorizing them. And that's pretty much what we got, mixed in with a little bit of Jeffrey Combs getting drunk and bringing a whore back to the wine cellar, who she eventually gets her nipple bitten off by the sex pest, which that was a pretty cool scene. But you know, that second half of the movie, honestly, I kind of started getting a little bit bored. I didn't feel like they made the interactions or the whatever you want to say about them having to deal with the sex pest. I didn't find it to be engaging enough where I wasn't like, okay, they gave us too much of the backstory too early in the movie. We probably needed kind of more of a mixing. He probably needed to start doing things to terrorize them a little earlier, and we still probably needed a couple mysteries. Though, in the final act, more or less, there is a big reveal of Jeffrey Combs' character, some people in the tomb, and things of that nature. That kind of is a reveal. So they don't, you know, at least they save something.
I think the turning point is that bar scene where
I agree,
because that scene just seems to keep going on, and I'm kind of like, things were moving fast, and then you get to that scene, and it's like, all right, now what? And it takes forever.
That's a great marker for like where it does turn to a little bit slower movie. I agree.
Yeah.
What was really cool in the final battle, Jeffrey Combs all of a sudden becomes like Bruce Lee. Like he's kind of a scrawny little dude, but he's throwing this freaking monster around and stuff, and like flying through the air and shit. And it was Jeffrey Combs kind of surprised me a little bit. I doubt they had the budget for a stuntman, but I could be wrong. So, but all in all, it was a fun movie to watch. You know, even though it's what are we talking, almost 30-year-old movie, I'm still not going to say much more. I still think the first line that I read of somebody else's work, Deformed Cannibal Sex Pest who lives in the castle dungeon, really should be enough of a review for anybody to pick this movie up and watch it.
Should be on the poster.
I'll give somebody some other reasons, because you know I research where these things are playing. Castle Freak is on Shudder, so if you have Shudder, it's easy to get to. But it's also available on one of my favorite services. It's out on Tubi, and that's where I caught it. There were only 5 30-second commercial breaks, and it was in full 1080p. I was like, holy crap. I was shocked how good it was, because it was in 16:9 ratio and everything, because I kind of thought this movie was direct to video, which is usually 4:3 in 1995. But they obviously spent enough money to get an actual film camera out there to shoot it. So, if you don't have Shudder, check it out on Tubi. It's absolutely free.
Are you getting paid by them or something? That was like 45 seconds.
I was actually shocked because a lot of times I watch Tubi stuff, and it looks like it was transferred from somebody's Super 8 home movie, and it was just stereo. It was not 5.1, but I'm very audiophile-ish with that stuff. But this movie wasn't shot in 5.1, so. But I was surprised.
One more thing to talk about with this movie, and this is something Mike and I talked about earlier today, and he already kind of ruined.
Okay.
The one thing that did make the second half of the movie kind of entertaining was when this freak's running around the castle, you're pretty much watching his penis the entire time. But the whole time you're looking at it, you're like, is that a penis? It's obviously a deformed penis. It's where a penis should be, but they never slow him down or stop him enough where you can really say that's a penis, but it has to be a penis. So that's another reason people need to watch this so we can all determine, is that a penis?
I thought it got cut off. I thought it was only the grapes and not the...
There's a little nubby going there, too.
Be from questions. There are many.
Yes.
And how can he be a pest if he doesn't have a dick?
He found ways.
It reminds me of Jurassic Park. Life finds a way.
Yes. Are you ready to grade?
I am.
Okay, so tell us, what do you grade Castle Freak?
I'm going to give it a solid B, based on the type of movie it is, and that is a low-budget film. I think it's a very solid low-budget film, and It was a great reminder that you don't have to have a lot of money to make an entertaining movie with actually some decent writing, dialogue, things of that nature. I've been so burned out by low-budget films in the last 10 years that are basically they're the equivalent of me watching Mike poop on a toilet. So, yeah, it's definitely a solid B.
Fantastic. There's a lot about pooping tonight. All right. Well, thank you, Rich, for that review. And remember, you can catch Barbara Crampton and Charles Band out at Horror Realm in Pittsburgh coming up March 1st through the 3rd. Mike, it's your turn. What have you been watching?
I watched the TV miniseries that you can watch on Netflix called The Fall of the House of Usher. And it is 8 episodes.
Okay.
I guess the nuts and bolts of it is the director, creator. It says on IMDb. That's really weird. Creator rather than just direct.
Yeah, it isn't the director. He's the showrunner.
Showrunner.
Yeah, he's
Maybe
the
that's
showrunner, which is TV talk for the head writer. That actually, because they can switch out directors quite often.
On a series.
In a series, but there has to be like a single, person that kind of runs the show. So that they call that the showrunner, and it's usually the head writer.
Nice. Well, his name is Mike Flanagan, and I'm sure you all have heard of him. He is behind the house, or what is that? The House on Hill House or something?
House on the Haunted? No, was it House on the Haunted Hill?
Hell House.
Yeah.
Hill House. Something.
The Haunting of Hill House.
The Haunting of Hill House. That's it.
There you go. And The Haunting of Bly Manor and Midnight Mass, and he actually stumbled upon something that he's good at, and that happens to be Edgar Allan Poe. And I was actually really hesitant.
Hold on, before you go beyond that. So you didn't like any of his other stuff?
I watched The Haunting of Hill House, and that's the last I watched of this gentleman's Netflix career. But looking back at some of his older films, I do like some of his work. He did a lesser known horror film called Oculus. I don't know if people
Yes,
remember.
you know what? I still haven't seen that, but I remember you giving that a very good review back in version 2.0 of the show.
Yeah, it was really a solid flick. So this guy does have some chops, and Poe, you could tell. For me, I could feel like he really put his heart and soul into the Poe aspect of this. I'll get into that a little bit later. But basically, this is a retelling, Fall of the House of Usher. It follows Roderick and Madeline, their brother sister. Bruce Greenwood plays Roderick, and Mary McDonnell plays Madeline. And we'll talk a little bit about them later. But they're head of a company that came up with basically your run-of-the-mill opioid. They can't use a real name, so they made up a name in a company, and they made all their money off of that. And now things are happening to family members, and people don't know why this is all happening so quickly. And I don't want to really spoil zero for people that want to watch this that haven't watched it yet, because it is phenomenal. It's a new twist, on the Poe classic, of course, and I think it's pretty relevant. Maybe low-hanging fruit.
Is it
but again,
set back in the olden days?
No, it's modern times.
Okay, because I literally, when I was grabbing the slides that you see going through, it's like half of them look like they're old-timey and half of them look modern, and I'm kind of like, well, what's going on with this? Is it like retro or something, or?
They go back and forth.
Oh,
in
okay.
time.
Okay.
Yeah, you get some history of how the Usher house became what it is.
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, I want to talk one about the cinematography. I thought it was absolutely shot beautifully. Everything, the tone of the film is dark, obviously, because you're watching this very prominent house in America just crumble in front of your eyes. And I think everything around it matched that tone, and they really spent time making sure that cohesion was there. Thought that was really a nice touch for Poe fans. Like me, I'm a casual Edgar Allan Poe fan. I'm not like a huge one, but there are the way that they intertwine other stories in this is really quite amazing. Where things really shouldn't be together, but they are. I just think it's amazing how they were able to do that. Some of the stories are The Raven, Telltale Heart, Lenore, and they go on, but I'm sure, big fans of Poe are going to pick out a lot more because there's a ton of Easter eggs. I want to talk a little bit about Bruce Greenwood and Mary McDonnell.
Okay.
Bruce, I think Bruce is a character actor that's been in 970 things. His IMDb, it's a long, long list of things, but, never really the guy, if that makes any sense.
Right.
But this movie, I think he was the guy. And he's talking to a lawyer at this old house for a good bit of the movie, and it's sort of his confession to this guy that's been after him for years and years for making this poison drug. And the scenes between those two guys are phenomenal, but he steals every scene. There's a scene about he talks about how he can make a lemon the new hot thing, and he just fucking puts it out, just cold, fucking calculated. Just like he took this role and just ran with it. Mary McDonnell, who's not been in a ton, I guess she was actually Madam President in Independence Day. So I mean, props to her for that. That was a good movie when I was 16. It's crap now, but that's a different story.
No, she wasn't the president. That was Pullman.
It was the president.
It was Bill Pullman.
She was.
Wasn't Mary McDonnell the president in Battlestar Galactica, the reboot?
Yes. So, would you listen to me before opening your mouth?
Oh,
she was the president's wife.
Oh, the president's wife. Okay.
Yes, in Independence Day.
Okay. That's
what she was. So she hasn't had a ton of roles, and she was she was something in Battlestar Galactica, but I'd never watched that. So I
Yeah, I think she was the president in that one.
Yeah, so, but she was excellent. They were excellent together. And as you watch, you're just watching it. A lot of the actors are the same. They're in the miniseries that I mentioned before.
Mm-hmm.
But they're all, really, decent actors. And then some new ones were thrown in. But, the cast was very competent and very well done, well lit, which is important.
Well, it's nice to have production value. The thing Rich was talking about, when you see these low budget things, a lot of times I get upset with those because it's like, well, you're making my genre look cheap. I like it when they invest the dollars to get good actors and nice production value, because it shows more worth is put on the genre that I love.
Right.
Now, you were talking about Greenwood, and the thing I remember him from, he played JFK in some movie, and I can't remember what it was with the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Was it JFK?
No, it wasn't JFK. It was something else. That's gonna kill me. But the first time I saw him, this is how long he's been acting. First time I saw him, he was on St. Elsewhere. And he was like the arrogant surgeon or something. And I remember seeing him on that show, and I go, oh, he's kind of interesting. And he keeps showing up. And a lot of people on St. Elsewhere blew up, like Denzel Washington and that. But he's always just kind of taken character roles and been like fifth build or something in a movie. So it's kind of cool to hear that is he the lead, or is he prominent, or?
I would. He's the lead.
Okay, yeah. Cool.
Yeah, along with his sister, they're the head of the family, and they long time ago they set everything into motion. So, he's the lead, and he's fantastic in it. He really is. And if people haven't seen it, and they're hesitant because of other things, put that aside and give this one a shot.
Well, I didn't like Hill House. I know a lot of people loved it. So I was kind of staying away from this. So I'm glad to hear this review. I was also kind of wondering 8 hours, because Fall of House of Usher, as I recall, was a short story. And I was like, how are they going to spread this out? And you kind of explained he did a mix of
he adds a lot. Like I said, he adds a lot, and I'm sure I missed some.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure there's more Easter eggs in there, but yeah, it's a deep story, and just really interesting, study of what people are willing to do, basically, and that's just really well done.
All right. Are you ready, or you got more?
No, I'm good. I don't want to spoil a second of it. I just want to praise the creators and actors, because they put their best foot forward and created something that was really good.
Okay, so what are you gonna give it?
I'm gonna give it an A. Yeah.
Do you realize this is 2 weeks in a row you gave a positive review?
I know.
Are you feeling okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
If you're having a stroke, you can tell us.
No, I'm good.
Okay, fantastic. I think what you're telling me is you like horror movies to be 8-episode television shows.
Yeah. Yeah. Those have been pretty successful for me, but I think I'm on next week, and I'm going to find just a movie to watch, and maybe I'll tear that up. I don't know.
You never know.
Start next week.
We do have another show next week. Yep.
I hope I didn't sign up.
I'll let you know. I'll check after the show. All right. So it's on to me.
Oh shit! We still have you. I thought I was getting ready to log off.
What? Hurtful. hurtful.
Ugh.
All right. Well, I watched 1973's The Crazies. This is considered by some a classic. George A. Romero directed it. It was remade. Everyone knows this movie in the horror community. I somehow had missed it all these years. Here's the thing. I wish I missed it. Holy cow. I don't know where to start with this. And I know there are people that are fans of this movie. I know there are. I just don't understand why. There's no score to speak of. The overlapping dialogue literally gave me a headache because the way they did is even confusing. I think they're trying to give the impression of mayhem, but unfortunately on screen it isn't really as big a mayhem as I think they want you to think it is. It appears like the entire film was ADR'd. And for folks that aren't familiar with that term, it's automatic dialogue replacement. It seemed like anytime you don't see the actual mouth of a character, it sounded like they recorded it later. And I think that it had a lot to do with all this overlapped dialogue type stuff. I don't know what to say about that. The story is confusing because they can't decide if it's a bacterial or a virus-based thing that makes people crazy, though honestly, their version of crazy is people seem to laugh a lot and then become homicidal. Is that accurate? I think I nailed that. That's pretty well all that happens. They giggle a bunch and then they start killing people. I mean, I'm not sure how you would even tell somebody has this thing, this bug. What is it, Trixie or something they kept calling it? Now, I watched it because Lisa Lowry was in it, and she is going to be coming out to Horror Realm March 1st through the 3rd. She is one of the better things about this film. She's absolutely gorgeous. Gave an interesting and game performance, but I don't feel like she was even being directed. It almost felt like I believe this was, and we have a George A. Romero expert on the call here tonight. I think this was his first union film that he made, and it seemed like he was distracted by lots of other things because it didn't seem to.
Don't.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I don't know if it was his first union film. I don't know if he was taking a lot of psychedelics or what. It just was a miss.
It seems disorganized.
Yeah, completely.
It's kind of a mess. Unfortunately, I had to, declare my movie. I later on watched a lesser-known Lowry flick called I Drink Your Blood.
Much better film.
Much better film. More interesting. It's still, I hear about it a lot, and I'm going, well, this isn't a fantastic film, but boy, a lot better than The Crazies. And that movie had a score and there was acting going on. This thing, I would say, first of all, the remake, I agree. Mike had stated that you're going to like this a lot less than the remake. And I would agree, primarily because the remake pretty well just said, well, we're going to take the cool thing about this, which is, people running amok due to this virus. And that's the only thing we're going to keep from the movie. And that seemed to work. I would say from a curiosity standpoint, this also has Richard France, who is the angry doctor with a patch on his eye on the TV throughout the movie Dawn of the Dead. And he shows up and he's basically playing the same character, except for it doesn't work in this movie, and it works really well in Dawn of the Dead. So that was interesting. And this movie... Oh, so go ahead.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think it worked in one and not in another? From the same people?
First of all, I don't think this movie... Okay, this is going to get kind of... I don't know. I haven't organized my thoughts on this, but I feel like this movie doesn't set up that the Crazies are the threat. The threat is the government covering this up and them running around with machine guns, mowing down people with... But you're almost like, hey, what is the government going to do? They got to wipe these guys out. They're knocking people off.
Right.
So you're kind of like, well, who do I cheer for? There's nobody. In Dawn of the Dead, there's no question who you're cheering for. You're cheering for all the guys from the helicopter crew. You know, you're like, hey, these are our good guys. When the bikers show up, you're not saying, hey, now I'm on Team Tom Savini. Tom Savini's a bad guy. He's a threat. Here, you're never quite sure. Is the government the threat here, or are they just taking care of a problem they created? You know, obviously the government in this movie is responsible for the problem. So, yeah, they're the bad guy. But it's like, well, they're doing the best they can once they let this thing out. And I think this was supposed to be, because when you look at the posters, and I've looked at the posters are all of the government goons running around with the machine guns. Here's the thing that could have fixed this movie. Don't have the virus. Just have it be the government guys being nuts and out of control, and they want to cover up something that really isn't a threat. Make the government completely the bad guy. Now you have horror. What you have here is watching your next door neighbor killing a mouse. You kind of go, well, that's a pest. Let him kill the mouse.
Sex pest.
A sex pest, right? Exactly. But, you know, it's the difference about watching your neighbor killing a rodent, or watching him go out and kill the family cat. Very different. One is arch and evil, and one you kind of go, this is what you got to do to protect your property, etc. So that's my opinion. I don't know. What do you think, Mike? Is there a way to fix this film?
Yeah.
Don't watch it. I mean,
Exactly.
don't watch it and watch the remake. They fixed it, in my opinion. Because they clearly define what caused it. They clearly, differentiated the infected from the non-infected, and they were still a threat while the army was still a threat. And better actors. It just had everything better. So they fixed what George was not able to put together.
Honestly, one of the things here, at the end of a lot of horror movies, I go, okay, what was I supposed to be afraid of? In this movie, I was like, I don't know. What was the bad guy? Castle Freak came out of that and went, yep, I know what the problem was. I can put my finger right on it. Was Jeffrey Combs' character kind of a jerk? Yeah, he was. But I was still on Team Jeffrey Combs. I wasn't on the Castle Freak side. I knew where the fear was supposed to come from. Another thing I thought was interesting is it seemed like every opportunity they had in the film to build suspense, they walked away from it. They kind of went, no, we're just going to make it chaos. We're just going to go chaos. At one point, Richard France has the solution, the cure to this disease. So he goes out the door, and he's like in the high school, and they've decided this is a place they're going to corral people for quarantine, right? So he gets out of the room, and they mistake him as one of the quarantined immediately. So there's like a 30-second he's trying to run away, and they gun him down, if I remember correctly, and that's it. And I'm like, what a mistake! They should have locked him in with all the crazies, and he had him, really realize I'm the only hope these guys have, and I'm about to get killed. And they don't hold on that story point so that it really lands. I don't know. Now the remake I felt was kind of like a zombie retread. It was like, okay, here's the reason for our zombies in this flick. But like you said, you at least knew who you were against, and that the acting was definitely better in that film. So I don't know. I feel like I want to grade it. It's what it is. I would not recommend this film. And I am going to go with a D. I can't give it a full-on F. There are moments, I guess, that are at least interesting. And one thing I'll say is I didn't pull out the phone and start checking Facebook messages, which unfortunately not all films can say they do that for me. But that's about all I can say. It's not great. So that's The Crazies from 1973 by George A. Romero. So that is all of our interviews. So now it is time for me to take a quick look at that website for everybody. And we're actually going to start with the Otherworldly Culture website. This show will be out there. We don't have a lot of additional posts going out at this time, but we will have another show next week. And the big thing that we're talking to everybody about is, of course, Horror Realm, which will be coming to Pittsburgh March 1st through the 3rd, but we have somebody much better to talk about that. Rich, why don't you tell us a little bit about this year's Horror Realm?
It'll be a lot of fun.
Great build up. What? Let's see. I saw that the schedule of events is out. Is there anything you'd like to spotlight for folks?
Not really. They're all good events. No, it's the panels are always a good thing to make time for. Of course, the parties and movies are a lot of fun as well. But I think the panels give you the opportunity where you might learn something about one of the films you enjoy or one of the actors and actresses you like. You might learn something you didn't know already. So that's probably the thing I would encourage people to circle the most on their schedule.
And one thing that's also out on the website now is the film schedule, and we happen to have the film curator on the line. Adam, any hidden gems that we should look out for on the schedule?
Yeah, there's a few. Let me get the list brought up real quick. Definitely the Sunday or Saturday local shorts. Mother, directed by Dave Bailey. Optic Nerve by Brad Wakawiak. And then Black Pines by James Reinhardt. Those are all Pittsburgh-based shorts. The Barn Double feature by Justin Seaman. Those are also local. And then Jamie Lockhart of Severin Films is showing his documentary about John Russo, My Life with the Living Dead. So Saturday's pretty packed with local stuff. And then the highlights Friday are the international shorts. I think there's about 13 of them kicking off the film programming.
All right, fantastic. And Mike, what can people look forward to in the panel room?
There's a lot of different things going on. I'll speak for mine. We have the Devil's Rejects panel. We have the Halloween panel. We have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre panel, Texas TCM3 panel, I should say, and then the one I think I'm looking forward to the most, the William Forsythe panel. So if you make one, check that William Forsythe panel out because you might be surprised.
I think that's going to be exciting, but it all sounds really exciting. I will be hosting the Ladies of the 80s horror panel, which features Dee Wallace, Barbara Crampton, Lisa Lowry, and Patty Mullen. And friend of the show, Jeff Miller, is going to be interviewing Charles Band, who we have tasked with seeing every single movie he's been involved in, and we gave him a month. So I think he should be able to get it in, don't you?
Yes.
No doubt.
I mean, if he doesn't, I think we all have something to razz him about. So if you see him, make sure you ask him about the most obscure banned films, and let's see if he completed his assignment. All right. Well, that's all we got for tonight. We want to thank the folks that came out for our show this evening. And,
Thanks, Mrs. Exler.
And thanks, of course, to all of our panelists for the great reviews. We will have another show next week, Thursday. Can't tell you the movies yet because I know I haven't watched mine, and the other panelists probably have not either. So we're going to be announcing that over the weekend. So make sure you stay tuned for that to otherworldlyculture.com. All right. Any last things from the group here?
I want to say it's been a pleasure to have not been on this show for almost a year.
It's been over a year.
Oh,
Thanks for that, Rich. It makes me feel so good when you shit on my life. So until next time, everybody, when you aim at horror, make sure you are dead on. See you next time. Otherworldlyculture.com.